Hey, I'm some nobody, and this time of year is a time of indulgence. With all these sales that go on around this time of year, all the feasts being held, and all the treats that only come around for this holiday season, it got me thinking, and I came to the conclusion that nobody enjoys December more than a fat guy. Winter as a whole is really their time to shine, but fat guys year-round are pillars of every community. They could be your friends, your neighbors, your idols, your family. They can be anything. They could be you. They could be me. They could even be... Boy, I'm glad I wasn't that guy. The point I'm getting at is that fat guys are some of the most valuable members of our society, and to honor their contributions, I've put together a list. A list of my personal top 5 fat guys of all time. There's only 2 criteria to this list. Criteria number 1 is that this isn't a top 5 fattest guys of all time, this is top 5 fat guys of all time. How fat the guys are does not affect their placement. Criteria number 2 is that we're talking real fat guys only, no fictional fat guys, so unfortunately George Cooper Sr. is not on the list. Now before we get into my top 5, I'm going to do my honorable mentions because it pisses me off when the honorable mentions are before number 1. Honorable mention number 1, Jack Black. A few years ago he would have 100% been on this list, but he lost his spot after he betrayed Kyle Gass. Honorable mention number 2, it's going to be the notorious B.I.G. Biggie Smalls. Truly great artist. In another world this guy'd be a top 3. But unfortunately in life, we all reach these moments where we have to draw a line in the sand and pick a side, and I gotta say, in the 1990s East Coast versus West Coast hip-hop rivalry, some nobody is officially saying West Coast, best coast. And now that we've honorably mentioned the honorable mentions, we're gonna move into the actual top 5.
Huel, you happy?
Reasonably.
What would make you unhappy?
Just little mofo not doing what he's told.
I think in any top 5 list, the number 5 pick is always the most subjectively chosen slot of the whole list. Because when you start talking top 4, the objective, inarguable truths get real important. And I'm not going to lie, I lost some friendships over this pick. When I told my friends about it, a few of them don't want to associate with me anymore, but I do not care. I think Lavell Crawford deserves this spot. You could argue that there are fat guys that have achieved more than Lavell Crawford, that have just straight up done more, but we gotta talk quality over quantity. This is a guy that has delivered back-to-back performances as one of the most iconic characters in fiction, Huel Babineau. Breaking Bad, Huel's Rules, Better Call Saul, this is an absolutely unmatched legacy. One of the most legendary runs in television history. His work as Huel alone is enough to earn him this number 5 spot, but he's also an incredibly funny stand-up comedian. I used to watch a lot of stand-up comedy. A couple years ago, if I was going to sit down and watch something, it was going to be a stand-up special. It's how I know for a fact that I'm not funny. But who is funny is Lavell Crawford, and his first big comedy special, Can a Brother Get Some Love, had me dying laughing. And I'm not a dying laughing individual. I am a slight smirk or a bland that's funny type of guy. If you want to get me dying laughing, you either gotta be mad funny or you gotta catch me off guard at 1 a.m. And Lavell Crawford is just mad funny. He's that type of comedian that's a really good storyteller, so he can take you on this whole journey without ever moving from a single spot on the stage. A lot of guys could have made it into the number 5 spot here. I just think Lavell deserved it the most.
Mama got your back. Your mama wiped your ass, wiped your nose, wiped your whole damn face. All with the same rag.
We shall prove ourselves once more able to defend our island home, to ride out the storm of war, and to outlive the menace of tyranny, if necessary for years, if necessary alone.
I know if by modern standards Winston Churchill isn't that fat, but for a guy that was born in 1874 and lived most of his life before fast food was invented, he was pretty fat. Before we get into anything, Winston Churchill died at the age of 90 after a lifetime of eating, drinking, and smoking like shit. That's beast right there. He was also the Prime Minister of the UK during World War II and led the UK in the fight against the Nazis, which is also pretty beast. You know, this might be a hot take that'll get me cancelled nowadays, but I don't fucking like Nazis. My great-grandfather was killed by Nazi forces on the beaches of Normandy during D-Day. He wasn't part of any military, he just saw an opportunity for a cheap vacation and took it. But even still, I respect Churchill because while the United States and the Soviet Union were still digging in their butts, he was actively fighting back against Hitler. All while being a fat fuck by 1940s standards. Churchill actually suffered a heart attack while serving as Prime Minister and refused any bed rest because he had work to do. This is a very accomplished fat guy. This is a fat guy that I think, objectively speaking, should be in everybody's top 5.
5 years ago, I promised you blood, toil, tears, and sweat. And your untiring response brought us, in the end, victory over Germany.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
This is another fat guy that is so objectively accomplished you can't not have him on your top 5 list. For longevity alone, he's making the list, and you can check it twice, thrice, many times as you want, he's still gonna be on it. Because Santa Claus has been on a hot streak for hundreds of years. Look at how much money and time Jeff Bezos had to put in to get to a point where he can deliver presents to kids all around the world in one night. Santa Claus has been doing it since the 4th century, and all he asks in return is that you be nice to each other and leave him some cookies and milk. Nobody has brought more joy to the world than Santa Claus. And that's not even considering all the jobs he's created. Think for a second, how many places do you know that would employ elves and reindeer? That's right, none of them, because despite the fact that it's almost 2026, we still got all these discriminatory practices in place. On top of everything else he does for all the kids around the world, Santa is the only business owner giving the elves and the reindeer a shot at making a living. It's literally impossible to argue Santa Claus being a top 5 fat guy of all time. Israel Kamakawiwo'ole. Tried my best on that, but it still feels like the incorrect pronunciation, so sorry if so. What can you say about Is that you don't immediately pick up from hearing the man sing? NPR once called Big Brother Is the voice of Hawaii, and there really isn't a more accurate description. A lot of people will throw around the phrase voice of an angel very freely, but I think Is unironically had the voice of an angel. His music brings the kind of serenity that you can really only get from the natural world. Legitimately, anytime I listen to Is, I feel a weight getting lifted off my shoulders. He captured the true beauty of Hawaii because the love he had for his homeland came across in every single one of his songs. The soul of the island shines through, the things that make Hawaii a paradise, the things that made the tourism industry go after it the way they did. No matter what capitalism and the Disney Corporation do to Hawaii, the real Hawaii will always exist thanks to Big Brother Is and his ukulele.
I was scared when I lost my mother, my father, my brother, my sister. I loved them all my heart and soul, you know. And it was time for them to go. It was time for go. Because when our time comes, cuz, no cry for me, cuz. No cry for me. Go plant one tree. The Kapilani Park, in the middle of the park where they play soccer. Go plant one goat tree out there for me, cuz. A big baller. And well, plant them small, let them go big.
Way to counter, and here he goes, but Samoa Joe gets out of the way. Oh! Kicks his feet right out from under him. And now, look out! Joe's got AJ, gonna swing him!
there is no field that has produced more great fat guys than professional wrestling. Dusty Rhodes, John Tenta, Vader, Bam Bam, arguably Mick Foley. If somebody's top 5 fat guys of all time was entirely made up of professional wrestlers, that'd be totally understandable. But for my money, there is not a better fat guy in wrestling history or fat guy history than Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe in his prime was one of those wrestlers where if you have somebody who doesn't really fuck with wrestling, you show them one of Joe's matches, they're either going to get it afterwards or they're never going to get it. If they can't appreciate a big, bad, meaty motherfucker beating the shit out of dudes for real, wrestling just ain't for them. Dude was just an absolute killer and he had the aura of one too. The crowd would literally chant, "Joe's gonna kill you," and I'd believe it too because he wrestled like nobody told him the shit was fake. And Joe could move too, like he had some serious agility on him. He was like a fucking fighting game character. But it's easy to just beat the shit out of the other guy. Joe was real good at getting the shit beaten out of him too. When it came time for Joe to bump and sell, he was gonna do it and he was gonna do it well. He wasn't just a guy getting his shit in, he was a good professional wrestler. Joe was one of the guys in TNA that was so talented they dragged that company kicking and screaming into staying alive no matter how many bad decisions they made. You know, you jump ahead 10 years, Joe didn't get to do much in WWE, but he did some cool stuff there too. He actually got a good match out of Brock Lesnar. And even 20 years AEW, Joe's still got some highlights in him. I think with the peak and the longevity, I got no choice but to say this is the greatest fat guy of all time. But that wraps up my top 5. I'm sorry if your favorite fat guy didn't make the cut, and if you got a problem with this list, drop your own in the comments.